Fortnite just dropped the last update of Season 3 and along with it unvaulting a whole bunch of crazy weapons, including the Dragon's Breath shotgun, the flame bow, and the chug cannon. Not only this, they made changes to how you can now refund skins before you use them, as well as a massive change that not enough people are talking about that I think is going to have a huge effect on competitive Fortnite. Once pros figure out about this, they're not going to be happy. I'm going to talk about that at the end of today's video. Let's kick off with the unvaulted weapons. So this is Fire Week. So we have the Dragon's Breath shotgun, flame bow, and firefly jars being unvaulted that you can find all around the map as floor spawns and chest spawns. And to combat the fire, there is also the chug cannon coming back. But not only is it coming back, you can now find it out of chests and on floor spawns, and you can buy it with gold bars. So basically everyone in your game is going to be running around with a chug cannon. Probably the biggest impact out of all of this. The Dragon's Breath shotgun is super exciting to come back for me personally. You guys know I absolutely love this shotgun. It's my favorite shotgun in the game. I know that sounds crazy. Chapter 2 Season 5 was a very special time for me. Just one pumping kids as they tried to crank COD edits on me. It was just so much fun. With a flame bow, I mean, the bows are fun. This isn't the mechanical bow, so it's not going to one-shot headshot, which is the main fun thing about the bows for me. And then the firefly jars. Firstly, fire as a mechanic, I am not a huge fan of. Never really have been. I just find it really goofy, really annoying. It's really hard to predict. Sometimes you're burning in metal, sometimes you're not burning, and it's just really, really hard to figure out what's going on, especially in a competitive endgame. But big note here, these weapons are not in competitive playlists, which also raises a very interesting point. Last week's Shadow of Phantasm week went into competitive. We got shield bubbles, we got shadow bombs, we got the suppressed weapons, but this week didn't. Originally, I didn't think too much of them putting those items in competitive. I thought they were just trying out, throwing a bunch of crazy fun things in at the end of the season. But the fact they've kept the flame stuff out, maybe because fire just isn't a mechanic in competitive, or maybe because they truly were testing some of those items. For example, the shadow bombs and shield bubbles. The shield bubble I'm not too sure on, but the shadow bomb was received pretty well, I'd say, by the competitive audience, especially in solo tournaments. The solo cash cups that I watched yesterday were so incredibly exciting because of the shadow bombs. The end games are way more stacked. It wasn't just players winning because they drop on a grapple glove. Everyone had a fair and equal opportunity to get mobility, which made the end games feel so much better. And a lot of pros really, really enjoyed that. So Epic potentially was actually testing those specific items for the next competitive meta, where they know they don't want to bring fire back, so they're just not putting the fire items in competitive, especially along with the chug cannon. If everyone was finding chug cannons, it would have made competitive an absolute joke for the next week. Yes, the shadow week kind of messed up some people. It was a big change, but at the end of the season in cash cups, where we already talked about people not taking it as seriously, I think that was a decent time to test some crazy weapons. And I guess Epic has decided there's just no reason to test fire. They don't want it back in competitive, which ultimately I do kind of agree with. In case you're unfamiliar with how these wild weeks work, that means all the stuff that came in last week for the Shadow of Phantasm week, the shadow bombs, shield bubbles, suppressed SMG, and suppressed assault rifle are gone from the game in public matches and competitive. You won't be able to find them anymore. This update also came out with big changes to the way the social and privacy settings work in Fortnite, as well as buying and selling cosmetics. One of the privacy changes I'll talk about in a second because it specifically affects competitive, but as far as buying and selling cosmetics, I think this is a really good change from Epic. Now when you want to buy a cosmetic, you have to hold to purchase. So instead of just clicking it once and you accidentally bought it, and now you've got to go use your refund ticket, of which I think you only get 3, now you have to hold to purchase it, but also you are going to get now hit with a message that says, if you equip this skin, you are no longer going to be able to refund it, because you can now refund cosmetics for up to 24 hours or until you first wear them. So let's say you buy a skin, you're like, yeah, man, I'm so excited. I love this skin. And then you're like, man, why did I do that? I don't want this skin. As long as you haven't equipped it or 24 hours hasn't gone by, you can now cancel the equip and then you can refund it. You can do this as many times as you want for different cosmetics. It looks like a really, really cool feature they've added. I know me personally, the first skin I ever bought in Fortnite was Wukong. I think I've used this skin once. I wore it once, decided it was so ugly, I would rather be a default, and I really, really wish I could have had a little bit more time to think about buying that skin. I just impulse bought it, so I think this will help a lot of people as well. As far as the updated social settings, there's a lot of stuff now around if you're under 18. If you're under 18, a whole bunch of settings are now locked, which you can still change. They just go back to a default mode, which is safer for communicating with people online, which I think is a cool feature. There's more parental controls now, so parents can actually limit what their child's able to do on these settings while they're in the game. Also though, a big one, new ways to help address bad behavior. We introduced a ban from using social features, e.g. use chat, add friends, to help address bad behavior. behavior. So if you're running into people in creative fills or in just maybe like, let's say late game arena fills, and they're overly toxic, you can now report them and they can have their account restricted for the social settings, which means they can't play fill, they can't go into parties, and they can't use chat. So a very interesting feature from Epic, which again, I do ultimately support. Most games with solid ranked modes or just even without ranked modes have settings like this. So if someone is being overly toxic, they can still play, they just can't use the chat, and I'm a fan of it. Last but definitely not least, and I feel like not enough people are talking about this, there are massive changes to the way anonymous mode now works in Fortnite. If you don't know what anonymous mode is, basically if you toggle that on, it means other players in your lobby can't see your name in the kill feed. This was originally added so that streamers wouldn't get stream sniped, because if you see Ninja kill someone in the kill feed, you pull up his stream, you find where he is, and you try to kill him. It still happens a lot even with anonymous mode, but it was one of those additions Epic added to try to stop it. But it has always been a debate within the competitive community for whether you should be able to do this in tournaments. It looks like Epic says no, because anonymous mode is now being removed from tournament game modes. So what that means is if first place dies in the kill feed, you're gonna see it. If first place gets a kill in the kill feed, you're gonna see it. If first place teammate gets knocked in the kill feed, you're gonna see it. So you can see why a lot of pros are gonna be upset by this, because that is a lot of information. If I'm dropping near first place and I see one of them get knocked in the feed and I'm second place, I am far more inclined to then go key that fight to try to kill them to win the tournament. Also, if I'm maybe 5 points behind first place and I see they go down and I know they only got 1 placement point, I now have the exact information of how many points I need to overcome them and win the tournament. This is information that a lot of pros like to deny. They always had anonymous mode on, so no one knew when they went down in the kill feed. This is going to cause some big issues. Personally, for me, watching tournaments and spectating them, I like it because I'm going to know what's going on. I'm going to know every single time a player goes down. And also, when I run into people in tournaments, not that I play them very often, it is cool to know who you eliminated, especially when it's your friend. I did love the days of when no one had anonymous mode on and everyone knew who they were fighting, but I know why Epic added it. But a lot of pros agree with this. Some of them think it's going to be an interesting change. It's going to change up how the lobbies work, but obviously a lot of the big pros especially are quite upset by it. It is still going to work in regular modes. If you're just playing pubs or if you're a streamer playing arena, you are going to be able to have anonymous mode on. It's still going to work. But as soon as you play a tournament game mode, anything through the compete tab, anonymous mode will no longer protect you. What do you guys think about this change to anonymous mode or anything I talked about in the video? Let me know in the comments down below. Chuck a like on the video if you made it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.